There is a very specific kind of silence that only people who live paycheck to paycheck understand. It's the silence right before you open your banking app. That small pause, that tiny breath you take without realizing. That quiet hesitation where your thumb hovers over the screen and for a second you'd rather not know. You already know what it's going to say. The money came in and somehow it's already gone. Rent, groceries, that subscription you forgot to cancel, the card you swiped last week and convinced yourself you'd figure out later, a bill you didn't expect, a friend you couldn't say no to, a small treat because the week was heavy and you needed something to feel human again, and then nothing. Not because you wasted it, not because you were reckless, but because everyone got paid this month except you. Your landlord got paid, your phone company got paid, the streaming service got paid, the grocery store got paid, the credit card company got paid, and you got the leftovers of your own life. If you felt that quiet kind of exhaustion, the one that doesn't show on your face, the one you carry to work and back home, the one that lives between your shoulders, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes. Because what I'm about to say isn't going to sound like every other finance video you've ever heard. There's no hustle here, no side gig promise, no "I made 6 figures in 90 days" lie. Just something quieter, something more honest. You are not broke because you earn too little. You are financially exhausted because you have spent your entire life paying yourself last. Let that sit for a second, because that single sentence is the difference between people who eventually build something and people who spend 40 years wondering why nothing ever sticks. Before we go deeper, do me one small thing. If this is the kind of conversation you've been needing without knowing how to ask for it, leave the word control in the comments. Not for me, for you. Because the people who type it are the ones who decide in this exact moment that something is about to change quietly in their life. And I read those. Every single one. Now let's keep going. Because the real damage isn't in your bank account. It's in what you've started to believe about yourself. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed an idea. Maybe nobody told it to you directly. Maybe it was just the air you grew up breathing. The idea is this: I'll start paying myself when I earn more. I'll start saving when things calm down. I'll start being responsible with money once I get past this month. Once I get the raise. Once I move out. Once the debt is gone. Once life stops being so expensive. And every month life finds a new reason to stay expensive. Because here is the truth nobody wants to say out loud. There is no future version of you that magically becomes disciplined. There is no salary that automatically makes you wealthy. There is no calm season coming where everything suddenly aligns. People who are financially strong did not start when they felt ready. They started before they felt ready. That is the entire difference. The person earning $30,000 a year who saves $20 a week will, over a decade, become a fundamentally different human being than the person earning $80,000 who keeps waiting for the right time. Not because of the money, because of the identity, because every time you pay yourself first, even $5, even $2, you are sending a signal to a part of your brain that has been ignored for years. A part that has been waiting quietly to be acknowledged. A part that whispers, maybe I matter too. And that signal, repeated, becomes a new self-image. This is the thing finance gurus will never tell you because it doesn't sell courses. Wealth is not a math problem. Wealth is behavior. And behavior is identity. And identity is built one small, almost invisible decision at a time. You don't need motivation. You need a system that protects you from the version of yourself who is tired on a Friday night. Pause for a moment. If this is making sense in a way that feels uncomfortable but true, a quiet, like on this video, is the only reason it reaches another person, sitting exactly where you're sitting right now. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to share it. Just that quiet gesture is enough. And then come back, because what's next is the part most people get wrong for their entire lives. So let's redefine something. Pay yourself first. You've heard it before. It sounds like a finance technique, a budgeting trick, a line from a book your uncle once recommended and you never read. But that is not what it is. Paying yourself first is not a financial strategy. It is an act of self-respect translated into numbers. It is the moment you stop treating your own future as the last item on a list that never ends. It is the moment you stop being the unpaid employee of your own life. Think about that. You wake up early, you commute, you work, you deal with people who drain you, you come home tired, you manage a household, you pay everyone, you handle everyone's needs, and at the end of it, the one person who did all the work gets nothing. No reserve, no margin, no quiet pile of money in a corner that belongs only to you, no invisible cushion that says, I am safe, even if everything goes wrong this month. You wouldn't accept that arrangement from a boss, but you've accepted it from yourself for years. Paying yourself first is the moment you become your own first employer, your own first priority, your own first responsibility. And here's where it gets uncomfortable, because some of you are going to recognize this immediately. The reason you haven't done this isn't because you can't afford it. It's because, somewhere deep down, you don't fully believe you deserve it yet. You believe you have to earn the right to keep your own money. You believe you have to prove something first. You believe other people's needs are more urgent than your own stability. And that belief, not your salary, is what has kept you stuck. If all you can pay yourself this week is $5, pay yourself $5. Not because $5 is going to change your life mathematically, but because $5 moved with intention changes something inside you that no amount of motivation ever could. It tells your brain, I am no longer last on my own list. That's the seed. Everything else grows from there. Most people fail at this because they think small actions are pointless. They wait until they can save 200, 500, 1,000, and while they wait, 10 years pass, and they have nothing, not because they couldn't afford to start, but because they refused to start small. Wealth doesn't begin with a big move. Wealth begins with a small, repeated, almost embarrassing move that nobody around you notices. That's the entire secret, and it's the reason most people will never have it. Because it doesn't look impressive. It doesn't feel powerful. It feels like nothing, until one day it feels like everything. So here's what I want you to actually do. Not someday, this week. Open a second account, a separate one. Different bank if possible. Somewhere you have to make an effort to reach. No card attached, no easy app access. Make the money you save slightly inconvenient to touch. That friction is not a problem. That friction is the wall that protects your future from your present. Then automate a transfer, any amount, $5, $10, $20, whatever doesn't make you panic. Set it for the same day your paycheck hits. Not a day later, not a week later, the same day. Before life has a chance to claim it, because here's the psychological trick almost nobody talks about. Money you never see, you never miss. If it sits in your main account, your brain counts it as available. And your brain is very, very good at spending whatever it considers available. But if it's gone before you see it, transferred quietly into an account you don't check, your spending naturally adjusts around what's left. You don't feel deprived. You don't feel restricted. You just feel slightly lighter because something is finally being built underneath you. That account is not for emergencies. That account is not for bills. That account is not for I'll just borrow from it this once. That account is untouchable money. Say it to yourself. Untouchable. It is the first piece of land you own inside your own life. And nobody, not your landlord, not your debt, not your impulses, not your fear, not even the version of you that's tired on a Tuesday night, gets to step on it. If you're still here with me, that already tells me something about you. Most people scrolled past a video like this within the first 30 seconds because it didn't promise them anything fast. The fact that you're still listening means you're wired differently. Subscribe quietly, no ceremony, just hit it because the rest of this channel is built for the kind of person who's willing to sit with the uncomfortable truths instead of running from them. And what's coming next is going to make even more sense once you stop hearing this kind of thinking only once and start hearing it consistently. Now here's where most people destroy their own progress. They rely on motivation. They tell themselves, this time I'll be disciplined, this time I'll be different, this time I'll have the willpower. And for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, they do. They feel proud. They feel in control. And then life happens. A bad day, a bad week, a bad mood, a bad surprise, and the discipline crumbles. Because discipline, on its own, is fragile. Discipline that depends on how you feel will always lose to a long enough Tuesday. This is why systems beat motivation. Every single time. A system doesn't care how you feel. A system doesn't need you to be inspired. A system doesn't ask if you had a hard day. A system just runs, quietly, automatically, mechanically, in the background of your life, building something while you're busy surviving. Automation is the only form of discipline that doesn't get tired. So your job is not to become a more disciplined person. Your job is to design a life where discipline is not required, where the right thing happens by default, where you would have to actively work to sabotage yourself. The transfer that happens automatically, the account you can't easily reach, the subscription you cancelled so it can't drain you next month, the grocery list you write before you shop so the store doesn't decide for you, the cash you take out on Friday so the week has a visible limit. These are not tips, these are walls. Walls between the version of you who wants stability and the version of you who is tired, emotional, distracted, and human. Strong people are not the ones with the most willpower. Strong people are the ones who stopped depending on willpower a long time ago. And here is where something quiet starts to happen. You begin to notice the small leaks. The $7 here, the $12 there. The it's just coffee that's actually $140 a month. The it's only a few clicks subscription that's been charging you for 9 months for a service you forgot you signed up for. The convenience fees, the delivery fees, the little fees that look like nothing and add up to everything. You're not going to cut all of them. You're not supposed to. This is not about punishment. This is about awareness. Because once you see the leaks, you can't unsee them. And once you can't unsee them, you start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. You start to feel like you're in charge. Not rich, not free, not done, but in charge. For the first time in years, maybe ever, you feel like the person making the decisions instead of the person reacting to them. And that feeling, that quiet sense of authorship over your own life, is more valuable than any amount of money you'll ever save in the first year. Because money will come and go. Income will rise and fall, expenses will surprise you, but the identity of being someone who handles their own money, who respects their own future, who refuses to abandon themselves financially, that identity, once it sets in, doesn't leave. But there's a problem, and it's the problem nobody warns you about. Because the moment you start building something, the moment you start having even a small amount of money sitting quietly in your name, something inside you is going to try to destroy it. Not the world, not your bills, not your boss, you. And we need to talk about that next, because if you don't understand what's about to happen inside your own mind, every system you build will eventually be sabotaged by the one person you weren't watching. There is a phenomenon almost nobody talks about, and it's the real reason most people stay financially stuck their entire lives. The moment you start saving money, real money, money that's actually staying, a quiet voice inside you will begin to whisper reasons to spend it. It will sound logical. It will sound reasonable. It will sound like adulthood. I deserve this. I've been working hard. It's just this one time. I'll save more next month. Oh, what's the point of having money if I can't enjoy it? Life is short. And every one of those sentences is true on the surface, which is exactly why they're dangerous. Because the version of you who has lived in financial scarcity for years is not used to having money sit still. It feels foreign, it feels wrong, it feels like something is off balance. And your brain, which has been trained for a lifetime to spend whatever shows up, will quietly look for reasons to return things to the familiar state, which is empty. This is what people mean when they say, money problems are emotional, not mathematical. You are not just managing dollars. You are managing an identity that was built around not having them. And until that identity updates, no amount of income will ever feel like enough. You could earn double tomorrow, and your account would still be empty by the end of the month, because the person living that life hasn't changed yet. This is why people who win the lottery often end up broke. This is why people who get raises feel just as stressed 6 months later. This is why pay increases rarely translate into wealth, because the container hasn't grown, only the volume passing through it. Your job in this season of your life is to grow the container, quietly, patiently, without announcement. And that brings me to something that's going to shift the way you think about money for the rest of your life. Real wealth is silent. The people who are actually building something rarely look like it. They don't post it. They don't perform it. They don't need to convince anyone of anything. Because performance costs money, and they've already decided their freedom is worth more than their image. The loudest spenders you know are almost never the wealthiest people in the room. They are usually the most anxious, the most leveraged, the most dependent on a paycheck that has to keep arriving forever, just to maintain the illusion they've built around themselves. Meanwhile, somewhere quieter, there's a person earning less than them, driving an older car, wearing simpler clothes, eating at home most nights, and slowly, invisibly becoming free. That's the path. That's the real path. And almost nobody walks it because it doesn't impress anyone in the short term. You don't need to look rich. You need to become unshakable. Those are two completely different projects, and most people spend their entire lives on the wrong one. I want you to think about what it would feel like to know, really know, that if something went wrong this month, you'd be okay. Not rich, not retired, just okay. To know there's a quiet account somewhere with enough to absorb the shock. To know your phone ringing with an unexpected bill doesn't have to ruin a week of sleep. To know you can say no to things and yes to other things because your decisions are no longer dictated by fear. That feeling is what you're actually building, not money. The feeling underneath the money, the feeling of having room, of having margin, of being able to breathe. And here's something worth sitting with. If you've made it this far into a video that has offered you nothing easy, no shortcuts, no fantasy, that says something about who you are. Most people can't tolerate this kind of slow truth. They need the noise, they need the promise, they need the high. You're different, and that's not a compliment, it's a diagnosis. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because this channel is being built for people who can sit with quiet truths. And drop a comment with one small action you're going to take this week. Just one, because writing it down publicly, even to strangers, is the moment intention becomes commitment. I read them. And the people who type those small commitments are almost always the same people who months later come back and tell me everything changed. Now let's keep going, because there's something else nobody warns you about. When you start doing this, when you start paying yourself first, when you start building quietly, when you start refusing to spend the way you used to, the people around you will notice. Not consciously, not directly, but they'll feel it. And some of them won't like it, because your old spending patterns weren't just yours. They were a social contract. The dinners, the drinks, the trips, the little expenses that bonded you to the people in your life. And when you start to opt out, even slightly, you'll feel a strange pressure to come back. You've changed. Don't be cheap. You only live once. What's the point of working if you don't enjoy it? This is the part where most people fold, because money is uncomfortable, but disappointing the people around you is more uncomfortable. So they quietly slide back into the old patterns, telling themselves they'll start again next year. Next year never comes. So you have to make peace with something now. Building a different financial life means becoming, in small ways, a slightly different person than the one your environment expects. And that's not betrayal, that's not selfishness, that's not arrogance, that's growth. And growth always feels like distance before it feels like elevation. You don't owe anyone an explanation for not draining yourself to keep them comfortable. You don't owe anyone access to money you haven't even given to yourself yet. You don't owe anyone the performance of a lifestyle you can't actually afford. The quietest, most powerful sentence you can learn to say is simply, "I can't right now." No explanation, no apology, no defense, just that. And the people who respect you will respect that, and the people who don't were never invested in your stability to begin with. This is what stealth wealth really means. It isn't about hiding money, it's about hiding intention. It's about giving yourself the privacy to become something before anyone has the chance to talk you out of it. You don't announce a fortress while you're still building it. You don't show your cards while the game is still in motion. You don't perform the life you want. You construct it slowly, behind a quiet door, while the world keeps looking somewhere else. And one day, without anyone noticing the moment it happened, you'll realize something has shifted. You'll open your banking app and you won't hold your breath. You'll get an unexpected bill and you won't spiral. You'll see a friend make an impulsive purchase and you won't feel jealous. You'll feel calm because you'll know something they don't. You'll know what it feels like to finally, quietly be on your own side. But before we get to the end of this, to the part that separates the people who only watched from the people who actually become, there's one more thing you need to understand. And it's the part that almost nobody is willing to say out loud, because it forces you to take responsibility for something most people would rather blame on the world. Some of those things might help you, but none of them will save you, because saving yourself is not an event, it's a posture. It's a daily, almost boring decision to stop waiting for rescue and start becoming the person who doesn't need one. And I know that sounds heavy, but I want you to feel how freeing it actually is. Because if nobody is coming, then nobody can fail you either. If nobody is coming, then no one else has the power to keep you stuck. If nobody is coming, then every small decision you make becomes weighted with meaning, because it's actually yours. You stop waiting. You stop hoping someone notices how hard you're trying. You stop performing struggle in hopes that the universe will finally cut you a break. You just begin, quietly, without permission, without applause, without proof that it'll work. And that beginning, that small, unremarkable, almost invisible beginning, is the most powerful moment in a financial life, because every wealthy, stable, calm person you've ever admired had that exact moment. They just didn't post about it. They didn't announce it. They didn't wait until they were ready. They started before the conditions were perfect, because they understood the conditions are never perfect. The conditions are an excuse the mind invents to delay the discomfort of beginning. $5 this Friday, $10 next paycheck. A separate account by the end of the month. An automatic transfer set up before you go to sleep tonight. A cancelled subscription you've been meaning to cancel for half a year. A grocery list before the next shopping trip. A small private commitment to stop being the unpaid employee of your own life. That's it. That's the entire blueprint. There is no secret. There is no advanced strategy. There is no hidden book. There is only the willingness to do small things consistently while everyone else waits for big things to happen to them. And here is the quietest, most important truth of this entire conversation. You will not feel transformed at first. You'll save $20 and your life will look identical. You'll automate a transfer and nothing dramatic will happen. You'll cancel a subscription and the sky will not part. You'll go a month, 2 months, 3 months, and on the surface, almost nothing will appear to have changed. But underneath, something will be shifting. Something nobody can see, something even you might not notice until much later. You'll start sleeping slightly better. You'll start checking your account without flinching. You'll start saying no without guilt. You'll start feeling a quiet kind of pride that doesn't need an audience. You'll start trusting yourself again, maybe for the first time in years. And that's the real wealth. Long before the numbers get impressive, the person gets stable, and a stable person, given enough time, almost always becomes a wealthy one, not because they earn more, but because they finally stopped leaking themselves dry. I want to say one last thing before this video ends, and I want you to actually hear it, not just listen to it. Some people will watch this video and feel something for 10 minutes and then close the app, and tomorrow morning they'll wake up exactly the same. The salary will hit. It'll disappear, the cycle will continue, and in a year, they'll find another video like this one and feel the same thing again and change nothing again. That's not a judgment, that's just what happens to most people. The pattern is heavier than the insight, but some of you, and I don't know who, and you don't have to tell me, some of you are going to do something different. Not something dramatic, something small, something almost embarrassing in its size. You're going to open that second account. You're going to set up that transfer. You're going to move $5, 10, 20, whatever you can. And you're going to do it tonight or tomorrow morning, before the feeling fades, before the noise comes back, before your environment talks you out of it. And 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're going to be a fundamentally different person, not louder, not richer in any way the world will recognize at first, just quieter, calmer, more yours. If that's you, if you feel that quiet pull in your chest right now, the one that's saying, "This time I actually mean it," then leave one word in the comments, just one. Beginning. That's it. Don't explain it, don't justify it. Just plant it there, so that future version of you, the one reading old comments months from now, can see exactly where it started. And if this video gave you even one sentence you needed to hear, a quiet like is how it reaches someone else who's been carrying the same exhaustion in silence. You don't have to share it. You don't have to talk about it. Just that small gesture is enough. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of thinking, not the loud kind, not the hype kind, the quiet kind, the kind that respects your intelligence and your tiredness at the same time. Because there's more coming, and the people who stay close to this channel are going to slowly, quietly build something the rest of the world won't notice until it's already done. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not too broke. You are not too tired. You are just someone who until today kept getting paid last in their own life. And starting tonight, that ends. Not loudly, not dramatically, not for anyone else to see. Just quietly. In the small, almost invisible decision to finally put yourself first. That's where wealth begins. That's where freedom begins. That's where you begin.